Hello, good afternoon. We're having an interview with some of the endemic plants of the Galapagos, and for our first guest is the threadleaf chaflower. It's an endemic from a lot of islands in the Galapagos, and we're gonna ask some questions. We're really glad to have the opportunity of having this member and representative of the Galapagos here with us. So, how do you feel about being an endemic in the Galapagos? Could you explain us what is an endemic of, in the Galapagos or in general?
Yeah. So an endemic is a species that is found only in one place in the entire world. Nowhere else is it found. And that being said, it evolved in that specific region, maybe possibly from an ancestor that is more commonly found. However, an endemic species has evolved in a specific place and is only located in that place.
Right. It should be hard to maintain that endemism because of other pressures. I mean, it must be hard for an endemic to survive the pressure of other beings like humans. Well, that's really interesting. Thank you very much. Well, next question is, what is your? Could you tell us a little bit about your evolutionary history here in the Galapagos? How it's been everything with your ancestors, or tell us anything you can mention about your past lives here.
Yeah, so my scientific name is Alternanthera filifolia. So most likely what occurred was that in the past, a species of Alternanthera came here from the mainland, and since then, it established and everything, colonized, and since then, I evolved kind of separately off of that original group. And there's actually a few other Alternanthera species here on the Galapagos, 6 of which are actually endemic as well. And then there's also 6 that are only native. So it is possible that I evolved just from one of those native species here.
Well, that's really interesting. I think all the endemics here in the Galapagos are really adapted, and you have a lot of characteristics. But tell us, what is your secret to be so widespread? Because you're not only endemic to one island here in San Cristobal, but you are widespread in other islands in the archipelago. So, what is your range here in San Cristobal and other islands? Could you tell us a little bit more about your secret, why to be so widespread?
Yeah, so as far as here on San Cristobal, I'm actually pretty limited in area. I'm limited only to the arid lowlands, just because I'm more well adapted to dry weather. But I am found on a lot of other islands. I'm found on islands like Española, Floriana, Santa Cruz, and Isabella, and quite a few other of the smaller islands as well. But as well on those islands, I'm still located just in the arid lowlands. And mainly, my secret to being so widespread in that area is just that I'm very well adapted to the dry weather that's found in that zone, because my leaves are so thin that I can really conserve water very well. And also, my flowers are self-pollinating, so I can survive pretty well without a lot of pollination effort by other species. But yeah, all in all, it's pretty much just because of those adaptations that I am found in so many different places along the archipelago.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was all for today. Thank you very much. Threadleaf chaflower. We're gonna pass on with our next participant. That is the saltbush. It's a native here in the Galapagos, so please welcome this beautiful plant.
Hello. So our reporter Jorge went out to it to interview the saltbush. I'm Michael. I'm taking over here for the interview. So saltbush, what were the conditions here before and after human arrival?
The conditions have changed a lot since we've arrived to the Galapagos, and I mean we are very widespread all along the archipelago of the Galapagos. We're not only on inhabited islands by humans, so we are in other islands like Fernandina, Genovesa, Marchena, Pinta, Pinzon, Rábida, Santa Fe, and Seymour, and Española, that are other islands in the archipelago that haven't been touched by humans in certain way. But in the other ones, like San Cristobal, Isabela, and Santa Cruz, and Florana, we've experienced a lot of changes there. Mainly that we are restricted to the arid lowlands, so a lot of human populations are establishing in where we are living and taking control of the area, throwing garbage to the ground, polluting the environment, human stuff.
So, because of all of these human interactions and disturbances, do you think that it would be harder for plants in the future to come over now and establish than it was before, at least naturally speaking?
I think that's a really good question because some other plants have told me that are rumors about other plants coming here as natural natives, but the presence nowadays of invasive plants and have damaged so much the environment that it would be really, really hard to in a natural way to another plant to establish here, because right now everyone is an intruder, so they probably would die before they can establish. Just imagine it was really hard to establish years ago before humans, and now that we have this pressure, I think it's really hard, but not impossible.
That's very interesting. So, I've heard through the Galapagos National Park as well as the Charles Darwin Foundation does a lot of conservation work with certain plants here on the Galapagos. But do you feel that you're discriminated at all because you're native but you're not endemic to the islands?
That's a hard question because it's true. I think a lot of the native plants here in the Galapagos have less concern that the endemics are neighbors. And I mean, it is the same thing. We still have some family there in the mainland, but still we are natives and we've been here for a long time, and we are probably endemic. Just humans don't know it. But still, I think we feel in certain way discriminated because we need help.
All right. Well, that concludes our interview with Saltbush. Thank you very much for your time. Reporter Jorge will come back and interview our next interviewee, the Opuntia cactus.
Hello, I'm glad to be back. We're gladly presenting our last interview with our last guest, the Opuntia megnosperma. We're gonna do some questions, alright? Are the introduced species stealing the pollinators? I think it's kind of a personal question, but is that affecting you because of your self-incompatibility?
Howdy. Well, yes. It is, and there are a lot of introduced species that are stealing away the pollinators that I use. Because of their large, showy flowers and lots of nectar and pollen, well, for one, the Galapagos carpenter bee, he likes to have a lot of that pollen, so he'll visit those flowers more than mine. And well, because I'm very traditional and conservative, unlike a lot of the other plants here, I like to not pollinate with myself. So I rely on these pollinators to come and pollinate for me. Without them, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh, that's a shame. I'm really sorry about the pollinators. I think it's complicated. But do you think the absence of wild tortoises in San Cristobal affect you negatively or positively because of the predation, or negatively because of the seed dispersal?
Right. Well, the tortoises and I have always had somewhat of a complicated relationship. There is some predation that goes on, they eat some of my fruits and some of my pads and such. But they do spread my seeds around quite well. So it is hard now that there aren't as many wild tortoises, or any wild tortoises at all really, on the island. It's hard for me to spread and be able to grow in new places with my seeds. But it is nice not having to be predated anymore. However, it is something that I am very conflicted about, because there are negative sides on both of the equations. So it's something that maybe someone should do a little bit of study into.
Well, I guess it's true. The relationship with the tortoises might be complicated and sad because of them disappearing of San Cristobal. But appealing to that, do you have any plans in the future for your adaptations? Are you planning to do something?
Yes,
Future
well,
generations?
yes. Well, I think that it might come time where I need to be able to start self-pollinating. As weird and as perverse as it is, it might just be the only thing I can do in order to survive. And well, maybe I also need to change the color of my flowers or produce some more flowers, only just to attract those pollinators again. Because if they keep going to all the introduced species, I'm going to get left behind and I'm not going to be able to survive. So, yeah, maybe I'll have to make some drastic measures, but it's something that everyone's got to do. If it comes to time, then that's what you got to do.
Well, thank you very much, Punta, for your participation, and thank you for everyone being here. We're really fortunate to have you in this interview. So that's all for this time, and we'll see you again. Thank you.